youtube.com/MugenLord. Subscribe to the channel for gaming news, updates, discussion, and live streams. Signing off.
Hey guys, it's MugenLord here, and I'm back again with another Real Talk episode. Now, before I begin, I just want to say that I appreciate the feedback that you guys have left for my Real Talk episode 1 and my most recent one, which was about like 2 days ago, with my Real Talk episode 2, where I talk about the toxic fandom and social media and how that impacts both dynamics hand in hand. And a lot of you guys said y'all really respect the Real Talk, so I figured that instead of just waiting on my next Real Talk episode, since I spread these out like months and months apart, because most of the time they're not really like gaming related, they're more just like, I guess you say, a life experience. So I thought that, hey, why not? I'm already on a roll with this, and I might as well just keep the momentum going. So let us dive right into this. Now, this is a topic that I really wanted to talk about for a very long time, but I just didn't know when I should be able to squeeze it into the rest of my content. And I was really debating of just creating another channel dedicated to this stuff. So I definitely want to know in the comment section below, will you like for me to continue to talk about like non-gaming related issues and talk about other things in general as far as life is concerned every once in a while, or should I make another channel that's dedicated to that type of content? Definitely like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. So what is this topic I wanted to talk about? I've been sitting on this for a very long time, and I figured that, hey, why not talk about it? Because if I keep waiting on it, then I would never upload this on this channel. So as you can see in the title and also in the thumbnail, it's pretty much, we're going to talk about simping and, of course, E-Thots. You know, we have a crazy pandemic going on, and we all know what this pandemic is. We sitting in the house right now. It really is affecting how we socialize with one another. We have to sit in the house. We have to stay isolated, bunkered in, and it drives people kind of wild and kind of crazy at the same time. So people are trying to find ways to keep themselves entertained. But this is not the only pandemic that's been going on. We have another serious pandemic that's been going on for quite some time now, and that's simping, and of course the wildfire or wild spread of I guess you say E-Thots that's been going around on the internet. And I have yet to really comment or even talk about it here on this YouTube channel. And 2020 has been really crazy about this, because simping has just went to an all-time high, and just the E-Thotting had just gotten ridiculous as well. So in order for us to even talk about this whole situation, let us just break down and go to the origins, or what pretty much caused this to pretty much spread like wildfire. Now, simping and E-Thotting go hand in hand with one another. It's an interesting dynamic. You can't have one without the other. You know, these E-Thots wouldn't exist without the simps, and the simps wouldn't exist without the E-Thots. They need one another. But which one has much more of an impact than the other group? So let us just dive right into it. We're going to just dig into it. And I think this is going to be a pretty fun topic of where all this stuff and how this dynamic has pretty much spread it and has become a big thing, and it has been embedded into our culture. First, like I said before, we check out my last video. I talked about social media, and I think when it comes to this, social media does play, and definitely plays the big role in this whole dynamic between simping and thotting. Because the thing is with social media, like I said before, it gives us access to a wide range, you know, a huge variety of different people from all walks of life, and you communicate with people all over the world. Now, what I said in my last video is how it affects both men and women, and how it also emboldens weak people. And what I mean by that is, for the simple fact is, simping has always existed. Thots have, of course, has always existed, but simping was very much of a isolated, you know, incident or isolated situation. You know, only way you knew who was simping is if you knew people, you know, up close and personal, or you witnessed it at a club or party, social event, or whatever like that, before social media was a thing. So it's much more of an isolated incident. Now that you have social media, and like I said, it emboldens weak people, guys who would never ever approach a female or approach a woman in general can now do that in the comfort of his own home, He can do it on his cell phone. He can do it on mobile devices. He can do it on his game consoles, his PC, and he can hide behind his text messages. He can hide behind his avatar, and he really don't have to suffer any type of repercussion, especially if he gets rejected. He can just say what he wants to the female. He can validate her. He can glamour her with praises and everything. And if she does reject him, it's just a text message across the screen, and he can pretty much either continue to keep showering her without feeling that sense of rejection as hard as if he was to approach her in person. So he can continue to do that, and if she blocks him, he can just move on to the next female and continue rinse and repeat, and do the same process over and over again. And that's what's going on. Like I said before, approaching women, it's very like if you're a guy, it's a lot of pressure. You gotta put your ego out there. You have to go out there, take a chance, and hope for the best. And a lot of these guys who simp, who doing the simping now on the internet, these are normally guys that would never approach a woman, who would never put himself out there because he's afraid of a rejection, and he afraid to feel that rejection because he's so scared of it, and because also he puts women on a higher pedestal as well. So instead of him going through that, it's much easier that he can just do it over the social media. So how does this work on the other side of the spectrum, which is the whole E-THOT situation? Well, like I said before, when it comes to social media, especially for women, women has the biggest advantage when it comes to social media. She can use it way more, and she can take advantage of it way more than the guy could. See, with a female, she can pretty much, like I said, she loves validation. Everybody loves validation, but I think as far as I'm concerned, as far as, my experience with women and just me, dating women and just, from my observation, women love attention. Women loves to be validated. Women loves to feel validated. And what social media has done is it allow her to receive validation without any work at all or effort on her part. If she's nice looking, or she's just a female in general, she can just post a picture, or she can say, make a comment or anything of that sort. And then you will have both men and women, praising her, making her feel good about herself and everything of that sort without her ever having to display any type of personality on her end at all. She doesn't have to work for it. It's free validation. And so what that does is when you have simps going in here, calling her beautiful, throwing money at her and doing everything that a simp would do, what it does is it inflates her ego. It inflates her persona, and she begins to overvalue herself as a person, as a woman. So now she have a bunch of people or a bunch of men telling her, giving her all these praises and everything like that, and there's no work on her part. She really starts to begin to believe that she's like more valuable than the people that's giving her these praises.
My value is so much more than all of your value put together, everyone in this chat. Like, I know every life has value, but like my life is far more valuable. Your lives have value, but mine is much more valuable than your life. And the fact that you don't even acknowledge this really disgusts me. It's like when you see like a super, super, super ugly dude that goes up to like a 10 and is like, hey babe, do you want to go out? It's like insulting. You don't realize what's happening here, do you? You think we're on the same level. That's insulting. And the fact that you think, chatters, that you're on the same level of value as I am is, to be quite frank, insulting.
It's just ridiculous. When I looked at this clip, I'm like, she seriously think that, hey, I'm much more important to you. My life is much more important to you. You guys are below me. And that's what this whole simping thing does. And it's not really good for both men and women as far as the whole dynamic and the whole mating dance between men and women as well. And I just think that's really, really dangerous, and it really doesn't help anybody at all. So also, what social media does for both men and women, or for mainly women, the advantage that it has for women is now we have these dating apps like Tinder, Plenty of Fish, and just Facebook, Twitter, or whatever. Now that she has access to this, she has access to all kinds of men from all different type of social statuses and everything. So no longer does she has to pick from the pool of men from her neighborhood and from her community. Now she can bypass all those men and go straight for the top, or she try her best to attain those men who are at this, at the top of the social hierarchy. And so what happens is, once she has gained access to these men, and she finally gets that chance to be able to date that man, or be in a long-term relationship with that man, she now, even after, if she does break up with that man, she now feels entitled to men of that status. So any guy who's not, in that bracket, that her previous man who had this high status or high value to him, every guy that's below him, she won't even give a time of day. So that's what ends up happening. But at the end of the day, in most cases, it never really works out for her, because these men who gain access to her, because now she overvalued herself, these men gain access to her, and then they realize that she really brings nothing to the table. All she has is her looks. She has no talent. She has no skills. She has nothing. All she's doing is just draining his resources. So after a while, he realizes that, she's not worth my time. She's not adding nothing to my life. She's not making my life any better. She just look good. She's just a trophy to me. And then after a while, he just pumps and dumps her. And then once he throws her to the curve and everything like that of that sort, she moves on to the next guy. And then she's expecting that maybe if I get this guy, I'll stay into this relationship and maybe something can formulate from there. But it doesn't happen, because that guy ends up knowing that, hey, she's not really worth anything either, and she just get passed around. And I'll give you a perfect example. A lot of you guys follow my channel, you guys also know that I do film. My brother Keo Lancer and all of us in DX Strike and all of us, we do film and photography and everything. So I'm always around a lot of women, from strippers, from models, from cam girls, e-girls, you name them. So, we've been around a lot of them, and we talk to a lot of them. I even have casual, friends with benefit situations with a lot of these girls as well. So I get a chance to really know how the dynamic work and get in their head and how they think. So we had this one girl who was pretty much a model, and to give you an example of the whole social hierarchy situation of all of this, is the fact is that because of social media and everything, she's just an average girl. She's a nice looking girl, don't get me wrong, and she wanted to get into the whole modeling thing. But, as my brother and I and all of us got a chance to know her and stuff, she wound up showing off that she's dating an NFL player. He's from the Eagles, and this was about a year and a half or so ago or whatever. And she's showing off pictures of her with this guy and everything like that. So now you look at this female, she's a nice looking woman, but she really doesn't have any type of other skills, any type of other talent. She just looked nice looking. And because she's nice looking and she's able to post pictures on social media, she's able to meet this individual through social media and everything. So what happens is, do you think a female like that, who's able to bag or actually able to grab the attention of an NFL player, especially a person from the Eagles, do you think she would ever date a person like my brother DX Strike, who's just a photographer who owns a business, or a person like MugenLord who owns a social media business and owns a business, at a certain level? Do you think she would ever date guys like us when she's dating an actual NFL player? Oh, of course not. Hell no. Well, eventually later on, the relationship ended up not working with this NFL player. So instead, she moved on to the next NFL player that was within his social circle. And that's what social media allowed women to do. Once she gets into that circle, or get into that status with that high status male, now she has access to more men within his status. So if things doesn't work out, what she does is she has to prep that next guy within that circle. And what I mean by how she has to prep that guy is pretty much, she pretty much dresses a certain way, or she's more flirtatious around these men that's in that's in her boyfriends, or the guy that she's messing with. She more flirtatious, and she puts that beacon out there in his social circle to let those guys know that, hey, I'm easy, or hey, you can come get this, when the time comes. So what she does is, now she posts more on social media. So these guys would start to DM her, and then she start to pretty much groom these guys. So if the situation doesn't work out with him, she moves on to the next guy, and that's what ends up happening. But this girl never ended up able to stay in a long-term relationship, because these guys also realize that, hey,
she belongs to the streets.
they passed her around. Now she's being passed around. And she's wondering why, hey, what the hell is going on? Like, why can I nail this guy down? But let's move on to the next thing. So what also proves this is also the whole Katarina situation. Correct? The whole Katarina situation, if you haven't dived into that, you guys can definitely look into that. But to summarize it, she's pretty much the streamer who ended up banging a bunch of different guys. From the time I checked, it was like 6 different guys. Now these guys are prominent people within the esports or just the Twitch life in general. Now a lot of people pretty much didn't know who Katarina was unless you was part of that group. But what made her popular is when she's supposed to have been dating Carson, who was also a big popular Twitch streamer as well. And the only reason why she had gained a name and so much clout for herself was because she was able to attach herself to his name. And that's what social media and this whole e-girl thing does. They're able to attach themselves to guys who has a name for themselves. And then after she gained the clout or gained the audience from these guys, she got either still continue to be with the guy, or she just split, cut off, and then she takes that audience with her, and then she moves on to the next guy, or the guy who she really wants, that Chad or that Tyrone or whoever you want to name those type of guys. And that's how this whole dynamic works. So now let's just move on to simping, because simping, I think, is very very important that we need to discuss. This virus is definitely like crazy. It's out of control. This thing need to be isolated. It need to be shut down. We need to do everything in our power to make people aware of why simping isn't good at all. Now, simping, I want to tell you guys, fellas, mainly fellas, women can simp, but women don't have to simp. So that's why I'm not going to really address women about simping, because women don't really have to simp. You can be the most unattractive woman and guys will still simp for you or whatever. So let's just get that out of the way. So guys, I'm talking to you guys. Well, first of all, simping gets you nowhere. And a perfect example I want to explain is how simping really makes you look stupid. It really makes you look bad. And it's pretty much, it's degrading. It's demeaning and everything. And if you want to put it in perspective. And it's this one MugenLord channel that popped up in my feed one time, was recommended to me. I can't remember his name, but he said something that really stuck out to me when it comes to this whole simping thing as well, or just the dynamic between men and women in general, how we treat one another in the whole dating and the whole mating type of battlefield. And he said something that really stuck out. He said, if you treat her like a star, she would treat you like a fan.
That's fine. I think that's fine. So if a guy pays for my tab,
I think I'm getting your attention. I feel like I touched like a vampire touching holy water.
can I help you?
I think they want to go in.
Okay.
And you just see the disgust on her face when this guy touched her. She was really disgusted. This guy was like acting like a complete fan. He was treating her like she was a superstar, and he couldn't believe that he was actually touching her. That is the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. And when I watched that clip, it was just so disgusting. But like I said, you treat her like a star, she treats you like a fan. And you look at her face and how disgusted she looked at this guy. It says it all on her face that hey, I'm above you. You know, she felt like a celebrity in that moment. And fellas, why would you want to stoop that level? Why would you want to stoop that low and make yourself look that pathetic in that regard? Another thing about simping that doesn't get you nowhere is how women don't respect you for doing that. Women don't respect men who pretty much flower them with so much attention. Yeah, it's kind of backwards. It's because they want the attention, they love the invalidation, but when you give it to them and you shower with them so much, then they don't respect you for it.
Like eyeballed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Show banner. Okay.
Ooh, that stings, Rance.
Yeah,
that stings.
That's why you often see times you see women end up with guys who pretty much don't respect them, or he doesn't give her that attention. Instead, he's making her work for that attention. That's why she does everything in her power to try to please him, And she just run through all these hoops to try to get him. And then the moment that guy actually folds and give in to her and start giving her what she wants, she started losing interest in him, and then she wants to move on to the next guy, because now she's able to control him and get what she wants out of him, and it's no longer a challenge to her. And now he's making her a big deal instead of her making him a big deal. And another thing too is that us guys, we also have to understand too, is that in order to understand the simp, you have to be a simp or experience something close to simphood yourself at one point in your life when you were growing up. And every guy has to admit this. They either been a simp or they done some clown type behavior for a female once in their life. But the only difference is whether or not you learn from that, and you learn to not make that same mistake again. And you learn not to pretty much put yourself out there to make yourself look weak, to make yourself look pathetic. And you want to pretty much, you learn to value yourself. Because a guy that's going out his way to simp for a female, to do these things for a female, and he inconvenience his life, he inconvenience himself for a female, it shows that he doesn't really have a lot of respect for himself, and he shows that he doesn't have a lot of confidence in himself as a person. Is because the thing that I learned that women respect, and I learned through this whole thing, is when you don't back down from her. The thing is, I've been through it in my life, dealing with my ex or my baby mom. You know, I grew up my whole life, you know, thinking that, you know, make her happy, you know, don't want to upset her and everything like that. And you do those things and stuff, and then she turns around, either cheat on you, or she turns around and either tries to step all over you and walk all over you or take advantage of you. Is because when she realizes that, hey, this guy is a pushover, this guy, he gives me what I want, you know, there's no struggle and everything, and then she begins to not respect you. So it took some time, you know, in my relationship at that time to say, hey, wait a minute. You know, throughout my whole life, I never let people walk all over me. I never let people talk, you know, take advantage of me or talk to me in any kind of way. But now that I'm in my first relationship and I'm actually dealing with a woman on a more intimate level and stuff, dude, like, you doing some clown shit, like, or you have these simp like behaviors and patterns that you have to cut out and everything. And that's what happened. I end up learning from my mistakes and stuff, and never allow that to happen ever again, because women just do not respect you for that. And simping, that's what happens. So not just that, this whole thing with simping and the whole E-THOT thing, it hurts both men and women. And what do I mean by it hurts both men and women? I want to talk about the dynamic between men and women, especially the whole mating dance and communication between men and women. To me, in my opinion, you may not agree with me at all, but to me, it creates this whole E-THOT thing and this whole internet craze that, you know, a lot of women are taking advantage of. OnlyFans, you know, like I said, the whole Twitter, the whole social media, the whole Twitch thing, the whole E-THOTing thing. It creates this whole lazy mentality for a lot of women, and also it creates a lot of entitlement from these type of women. Not all women. I want to put that out there, because like I said, it hurts both men and women. Because the thing is, if you think about it, a lot of these women, when they go out there, and it's kind of funny that I'm talking about this too, is because one time I was streaming, and somebody had sent me a donation, and this one particular female that I know, she sat there and saw when that person sent me the donation. So right after the whole stream was over, she DM'd me and said, hey Brian, like, did he, like, people were literally giving you money just to play video games? I said, well, it's just more than just me playing video games. I actually built up an audience. You know, I create great content that people love to watch, which takes a lot of time for me to sit back, edit. I do a lot of filming, editing. So it took a lot of time to pretty much hone these skills in order to get that type of feedback and response from my audience. So it's not just me just playing video games. I actually have a personality. I actually talk to my fans, and I just have a good time with them. So every once in a while, they give me money or whatever like that. And I really appreciate that. So when she saw that, she's like, this, man, like, is that easy? Like, maybe, like, how can I go about it? I would like to start a Twitch account and things like that. And I've been getting a ton of DMs from females wanting to know how they can make easy money, how they can just go in and make money and they don't have to work for it at all. And that's where this whole entitlement come in. And it really bothers me because it creates this sense of people start to believe that they're above everybody, especially when it comes to the women. Look at Invader V, for instance.
But a sub is $5 at maximum. In whatever your currency is, it's maybe $10. And it doesn't matter how broke you are. If you have time to watch Twitch, you have $10, truly. If you don't have $10, you probably don't have time to watch Twitch because you should be working. You should be trying to earn money. It's not a ton. It's not like a ton of money. So being like, I'm broke, I can't afford to sub, that doesn't really track. What you mean to say is, I'm so irresponsible with my money, I can't support the entertainment that I enjoy.
You know, these guys couldn't really couldn't pay into her at all. It's because of this whole pandemic situation. But she feels as though that she's providing a service, or she providing some form of entertainment, which really doesn't take hard work at all. Just look pretty, sit there, and dudes would just throw money. But these guys don't have the money because of the whole pandemic and the whole situation. But she feels as though that she's entitled to those people money.
If they're sexy, make sure that you do me good, guys, because I come in here every single day covered in glitter, covered in sequins, covered in booty shorts, covered in nylons, so that I do not violate the terms of service, so that each and every one of you can have both hands on the keyboard, so that you can enjoy the stream, so you can have a good time listening to me, playing with me, singing with me.
And she turns around, and a lot of these E-Thots or these E-girls, they turn around and they talk down to the very audience who they're reliant on in order to supplement their income. And that's just the crazy part. And it just boggles my mind how some of these women do that. And what's so crazy about it is this one cam girl and this one fetish model that I know who's in the adult industry, does porn and everything. And she said to me, and there's quite a few of them that said that, you know, they hate a lot of these E-girls is because, one, this is an oversaturated market. A lot of these females see how easy it is to make this money just by being who they are, just looking a certain way and everything. And a lot of females are now flooding the market. They all trying to go in. They all trying to get a piece of the pie. They all trying to get that get a piece of the pie. Get that golden goose. That golden calf. And milk it as much as they can. And it's going to get to the point where no one is going to make money from this because everyone is doing it, and there's only so many simps that can go around and just give their income away. So what she said to me was that she doesn't like this new wave, of E-girls that's coming in. For the simple fact is, these are nothing but a bunch of basic girls who, if you think about it, these girls are pretty much, I guess you say, veterans in the industry who has been doing this for years, who built up, I guess you could say, a reputation, or you built up a clientele within that industry, where they had to actually go out there and do some work. Like, for example, she said that, a lot of these E-girls are girls who never ever, or who are too afraid to actually to strip or do porn or do escorting and do sex work. They were too afraid to do it because it was much more taboo back then, because once you did it, everybody knew about it. And a lot of people didn't want to associate themselves with those kind of women and everything. So only the women who were about their life were the women who would go out there and actually do that work. And a lot of these women back then had to go to the gym. They had to work out, not just work out, but they also put themselves at risk to go meet up with their clients, meet up with men who they don't know. There could be a possibility they could be raped. There could be a possibility they could be beaten to death. There could be a possibility they can get robbed. And it could be a possibility it could be a whole police sting operation where they can get locked up for prostitution and all kinds of other things. So these women go out there and they took their chance to go out there and build this their reputation. They build their clientele. They end up building a relationship between them and their client and everything. And now that these E-girls come in, they come in with little to no effort. They just sit behind a camera. They sit in their room and they act like entitled brats and talk down to the very people. They talk down to their clients, or the very people that's giving their income to them.
How dare you?
And a lot of these girls, I just never thought that this was a thing, that there's a lot of girls in the adult industry who just can't stand these type of girls themselves, because a lot of these girls out here had to put themselves at risk, and and actually had to deal with some of the consequences that come with this type of lifestyle, while these girls who have never once or were too afraid to go down that path can now go sit behind their computer and do this type of thing, and they act entitled. They talk down to the very people who pretty much who supplement or supplement their their income and their lifestyle and stuff like that. So yes, it really does it really does create that friction and everything. And also, being an E-THOT or doing this whole e-girl thing also has short-term effects as well. And what I mean by short terms is the fact is that this thing comes with a time limit. And what I mean by time limit is, I call it it's the biological clock. A lot of these women, or most women that I've met, or we see on the internet with this whole social media, this whole Twitch thing and everything, this whole e-girl thing, is what I mean by time limit is the fact is that age must factor into this. A lot of these women believe that this thing can last forever for them. And what's so sad about it is a lot of these females who have no skills, no talent, they don't have any other things they can fall back onto. So they just rely on their looks, they rely on their body. They even go to the point where they want to pretty much get plastic surgery to try to maintain that. But in the end, it just ends up not looking that great, especially when they get up there in age. So it's called the wall. And there's women out there who believe that the wall doesn't exist, but it does exist. And if these women don't do anything to secure their future, by taking that money and investing that money to go into different enterprises to keep the money rolling, so by the time they do get up there in age and they do hit the wall, they're not going to pretty much, I guess you could say, suffer, or they don't have to go around begging for money, or they don't don't have to be desperate in order to get the attention, from simps and other people to give them handouts and everything, because they have something they can fall back onto. And that's the problem. A lot of these girls think they're going to be young forever, and women tend to forget God makes them every day. God creates more and more women every day. There's more, like, he creates beautiful women every day. You're going to be replaced eventually. And women think that they're going to be beautiful forever and don't know they're going to be replaced by a much younger and more attractive and much more beautiful woman who's going to come in and going to push her out. And now she's going to take her place. So she doesn't have anything to pretty much to protect her when that time comes. Then it all hell breaks loose, or it just become a disaster waiting to happen. It's just like this OnlyFans model right here.
Talking about, like, how everyone's lost their jobs and, like, people can't pay for anything anymore. Like, I'm losing subscribers on OnlyFans. They're all closed. Like, all the strip clubs are closed. Like, you can't even be close to somebody because of social distancing. So I've got nothing else going for me. Like, I have no other talent. Like, I've got nothing else. I can't dance. I can't sing.
She didn't expect that this whole pandemic was going to happen. And she even admits to herself that she doesn't have any skills. She doesn't have any talents. She can't sing. She can't dance. She can't do any of these things. So all she does is have her looks. And now, since we have at this pandemic, these simps and a lot of these guys out there, they can't work right now, or the income is not coming in like it used to. So they can't give her that money to supplement her lifestyle. And what's so crazy about it is these women fail to realize too is that they don't do anything to manage their money, because this one particular model or OnlyFans model, she made about $118,000 within the course of 5 months, and yet she's saying that she can't afford to pay rent. So if she's able to make $118,000 per month, how in the hell does she don't have any money to support, to pay rent? To me, that doesn't make any sense. Where did the money go? And I also learned from me communicating, and I've been around a lot of these e-girls, cam girls, strippers, models, porn girls, and everything. For me being around them and actually dealing with them and seeing how some of them live, a lot of them make a lot of money doing this. There's a lot of these OnlyFans girls, a lot of these Twitch girls, these E-Thots, a lot of them make a lot of money doing this, but the problem is they don't invest their money. A lot of them, since this money comes so fast to them, the money comes as fast as they spend it. Since it comes that fast, they spin it real fast, and they say, hey, all I gotta do is just get back on the stream, get back on a webcam, or do a couple sessions or whatever like that, and I'll get the money back. So what happens is a lot of these women, they take that money and they live way above their means. They live way above what they actually can afford. Instead of taking that money and investing in buying an actual house, there's one model that I knew. She made good money, but yet she would get an apartment that would cost $3,000 to $4,000 per month. So now that money that she's making is really not a lot of money, because most of that money goes into her rent, and not just her rent. It still doesn't count her lifestyle, where she wants to, when her lifestyle, her vacations, the things that she does to try to maintain her looks and everything like that. So she's spending all that money, and then on top of that, she's spending money on a fuckboy, a guy who she think that she's in a long-term relationship with, but he's really not. He's just pumping her until he moves on to the next girl or whatever like that. Now she's spending money on him as well. And then what happens is, as she get up there in age, and now the money's slowing down, the guys is not spending money, because now newer girls came in that look better than her. They're a lot younger and more fertile than her. And now they moved on. And now she spent all that money. She can't afford anything. She quit her last job before she got into the industry. Most likely sometimes she don't even have a college education. She has nothing. So now she ends up now she has to rely on a simp who's going to pretty much come in and rescue her. And she really doesn't want to be with the guy at all. But this is the only guy that this is the only option that she has. So now she's in a relationship that she really doesn't like. She doesn't really like the guy. She's more miserable than she ever was before. And she's thinking about what she could have done, what she should have done. And now her life is all over. And that's where the downfall to, the negative impact that this lifestyle could lead up to. And not just that, if you look at it from the male perspective as well, a lot of guys realize, from an early age or after a while, what they see a lot of what their male friends go through when their male friends simp a lot. They see that these guys are broke because they spent the time simping, or they see that these guys are simping in their relationship, and they realize that, hey, like, this woman don't respect him. He sees the hell that he went through. He sees, and if he's married to a woman that's like that, who has an ego that's out the, that's through the roof or whatever like that, and now she takes him to court, divorce him. If she has his children, now she's dangling his children over him, and now she's taking not only alimony, she's taking child support for the next 18 years. And then now she doesn't get married. She decides to get a fuckboy to move in his house that he paid for and everything. And now she got a new dude that's banging her brains out. She collecting child support, collecting alimony, and she won't ever get married, because if she get married, the other stuff, the alimony and stuff stops. So now guys see that and see what the hell he's going through and everything. It's just not worth it. Is it that now guys are saying, you know what, I don't want to go through this, and guys would much rather be alone than to deal with a dynamic like that. And it hurts women who really want a real healthy relationship. They want a balanced relationship, and they can't get that because a lot of guys are now opting out from that. So this whole simping thing really does have consequences to it. And I remember before this whole social media thing, before the whole e-girl thing and everything came about, women had to have somewhat of a personality in order to attract a man and everything. And despite how crazy my baby mom and my girlfriend was when I was with her, when I met her, she was a singer. She had a beautiful voice. She was a good film. She was good with the camera. She was a good editor. She had a humor. She had a sense of humor to her, and that was the thing that also, besides her look, besides her beauty, that was the thing that attracted me to her as well, because she liked the anime. She was an artist. She loved to draw. She loved to sing. She loved to film. She loved to edit. She loved to do all those things. So she did have a personality that drew me into her. And this is before MySpace became really, really popular and everything. So a lot of women of that time that I began to date and I began to know, a lot of these women had to bring something to the table. They had to work for that validation. They had to be interesting, to a point where a guy was able to say, you know what, I'm going to give her a chance, or I like to be around her. Now you look at a lot of these e-girls, a lot of them have these bland personalities, and they have a personality of a shovel, and then they get mad when artificial intelligence like Project Melody come in and blow them out of the water, because Project Melody, if you look at her videos, Project Melody pretty much caters to her fan base, and she has a personality to make guys feel wanted, make them feel welcome and everything. So that's what's going on. Guys will rather choose an AI over a real life woman because of the way this environment and this climate is between men and women, and this whole social media and, simping and E-THOT dynamic that we're in right now. And it's just ridiculous. But, I talk too much. I think I said a lot. And I just think that society really needs to get itself together, because it's really not good for men. It's really not good for women. It's setting these high standards, or setting these not high standards, but it's setting up these artificial standards. Simping inflates the female's ego. Then she takes that inflated ego, and then she tries to take that same ego and go into the real world with that ego, and then she wonder why she's lonely with a bunch of cats, or she's wondering why she can't maintain a real relationship. Is because guys who has respect for themselves and think highly of themselves would never deal with a woman with that attitude. They would never deal with a woman that's like a Lenity. They would never want to deal with a woman that's like Katarina. They would never want to deal with a woman that's like Bad Bunny. They would never want to deal with women like that, because they have respect for themselves, and they would never want to be treated like that. So that's what ends up happening. It gives these women this false hope. And then what it does with these guys are yearning for a relationship with a woman, and these guys go in there thinking that these women are going to give them some type of relationship, or give them this false relationship, and they think this is how a relationship is supposed to be. And like I said, Hollywood entertainment is also responsible with how we treat each other as both men and women. You look at games like Final Fantasy, for example, like Final Fantasy 7. You look at girls like Aerith and Tifa. These girls are dream girls. These are girls that guys would love to have in their life. They're beautiful, they're funny, they have wits to them. They got your back and everything like that. And these young men see these type of girls, and they will want these type of girls, and then they go out into the real world thinking that all females are like a Tifa or like a Aerith. And then they do everything in their power to be like Cloud. They want to be the provider. They want to be the protector. They want to be that self-sacrificing male. And then at the end of the day, these women don't end up with a guy like Cloud. They end up being with a guy that's like Sephiroth, a guy who's a complete tool, a complete ass. He's only out for himself, only care for himself. But it's because this guy has this I don't care attitude. This guy only out for himself, and he's not validating her. So instead, she's chasing to validate him. She don't want a guy that's going to validate her at every speck of her life or every time of the day. And so when these young men get hit with that reality check, it messes them up. Their brains explode and everything. And then females on the other end, like I said before, these women go to social media, and they pretty much have this mentality where, like I said, I knew this one girl where her whole life she was never relevant. A lot of girls teased her. A lot of girls bullied her because she liked the anime and all these other type of things. And then now she goes on social media. She gets a Twitch channel, or she goes on Facebook, and she goes on Instagram, and now she's taking all these pictures. She does makeup, and she makes herself look a certain way. Now these guys are coming in calling her beautiful. Other girls are pretty much, wanting to be her. They look up to her. So now her ego is inflated. and she ends up becoming the very thing that she hated when she was growing up, or when she hated throughout her life of how girls and people treated her. She ends up becoming that very thing that she claimed to hate. So it doesn't really help anyone at all. So wow, I speak for a good 42 minutes. I hope this wasn't too much for you guys. I definitely want to hear your thoughts, because I'm definitely going to wrap this up now. Yeah, it's like 42 minutes and everything. I was not expecting this to speak this long, but I really wanted to get this off my plate, off my chest. And I think because I speak this long is because I was holding on to this for a very long time. I didn't get it out as fast as I thought I should have got it out. But I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about simping, E-Thots, and what do you think about social media and how it affects both men and women? I just think that this is not an attack on women at all. This is pretty much I guess an eye opener to what's really going on out here, and how it's not good for both men and women, and how it's setting up false expectations for both men and women when it comes to relationship, how we communicate with one another, and how we treat one another as human beings. And I definitely want to hear your thoughts. And for the fellas out there who's watching this video, if you have ever been a simp, let me know in the comment section below. What was your simp moments, or what was your clown moments where you put yourself in a clown type situation where you just make yourself look like a clown for a female? And did you learn from it? And have you not repeated that mistake ever again? And also the ladies who watch this channel as well, I definitely want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the whole, E-Thots, the whole e-girl situation? What do you think about social media and how, what it does to you when you get that type of attention from men, or you get that type of attention from people in general who always constantly throw you praises and they just never think you can do anything wrong because of you being a woman, or because of how beautiful you are and stuff. So let me know in the comment section below. If you like the video, please hit that thumbs up button, because it really helps. And make sure that you subscribe to my channel. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure you hit that subscription button and hit the bell to be notified. This is MugenLord, signing off. See you game fiends later. Peace out. It looks like you reached the end of the video. Well, while you're at it, check out some of my other discussion videos by clicking on the annotations below. And don't forget to follow me on other social media platforms to stay up to date with future content. Signing off.